Hello and welcome to the Phil and Matt Show, your sort of weekly roundup of what's new and going on in the modelling world. Trust you're all doing very well today. Good evening, Matthew. How are you?
Good evening, Philip. I'm very well, thank you.
That's it. Yes. I thought we'd posh it up this week, getting accused of being slack and scum and villainy and all the rest of it. So yes, hopefully we're all working well. I have turned on our chat room just so the guys can tell us if we're all good. Hopefully they will. So yes. So anyway, how's it going over in PM Towers? You all ready for the move next week?
Just about, yeah. Lorry's booked, and like I say, last day tomorrow. So some final orders to get out, and then we'll be shutting down, and everything then can be properly packed away. Because obviously, while we're still working, it's hard to just really go on top of it. So this weekend is get a load of prep done on Saturday and Sunday. John is coming up to give me a hand. He's going to be up Sunday morning. We've got the van booked for 8:30 on Monday morning, and we've got that till Tuesday. So we're all pretty set. So yeah, it's big breakdown and big pack away. Obviously empty the paint racks and all the things, get everything in little containers and boxes and get everything moved. So yeah, actually I don't think it was too bad. Famous last words, but I think yeah.
The preparation's been done.
Yeah.
Should be quite smooth.
I hope.
Wait for it.
Yeah.
This is it. So I get a phone call Monday night, say, help!
No.
It's gone to pot. Get your ass up here.
I've got a good sort of plan of where the layout's going to be as well in the new place, so that'll help. So literally paint racks are going to obviously be priority. Where they go and everything else after that will just fall into place, I'm hoping. And yeah, so I'm actually, funny enough, looking forward to it in a weird sort of way.
Well,
fresh start, new place and all that.
I think that's the thing as well, because obviously when you first move in, although it's a tip, but you get it all sorted and squared away and everything's neat and tidy because we haven't got the clutter.
Yeah.
And again, I think PM, the warehouse, is a classic example of when you've got the room, it seems massive. And I remember when we first moved into PM, it was like into the unit we're in now, it's like huge, vast. I remember we had the Luton van right pulled in there and there's loads of space.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can't swing a cat in there.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So, but now, as you say, how much stuff was in there and just the general collections of things over the last 6 years. So it's nice to have a complete gut and start again, nice and fresh. And yeah,
it is. It's just a refresh in it. Start again. Obviously, we've been selling off stuff, as you probably know, just to lines that we're not going to carry no more, or obviously cutting down on stocks and stuff and getting new stuff in. So yeah, no, all good. So.
Happy
forward to it.
So yes, good. So really this week I've been, to be honest, it's I've been doing my end of year tax, getting ahead nice and early. Yes, this year I've done it already. So yeah, check me out. So I've been busy with the accountant and sorting things out with them and everything. So beginning of the week was a little bit of a write-off because I just couldn't get the momentum to get going. But then again, my biggest problem was I ended up working on this thing again. When I keep saying to them, stop, don't touch it, don't do any more. So members, you'll know that obviously from the actual vlogs this week, you would have seen that we've done all the clear parts are in and installed. And now I'm just fettling with little bits of filler on this thing right the way round. So we got a little bit of filler work. Sorry, the sun's blaring through the blinds this evening. But yeah, so we've done a little bit of filler work just under here, a little bit just under this one as well, just to smooth it all down, get that all installed and ready. Obviously what I'm doing is the clear parts are actually all installed into this, but it's the old clear parts because I've made new ones, a clear, brand new styrene sheet. So I've copied them, obviously the ones from here, a little bit of testing, fitting and all the rest of it, they're all good. And then we've PVA glued all the small windows because that's what it's going to be, but we'll spray over it, use them as a mask, untake them all off and put new ones in once it's been painted up. But yeah, so a little bit of work, to be honest, getting this, because it's technically a vac form canopy, to fit. But again, with a lot of effing and jeffing, we managed to get that one in beginning of the week. The only one that's been an absolute beauty was the nose one, and I thought that would be the problem, but actually it just was a perfect fit. By the time we sanded and profiled it, it just was a perfect fit to the end. So fingers crossed when we unmask it, it does look good. But anyway, that's all in there now. So now we are literally to this. I will probably do a little bit more to it tomorrow and over the weekend, or definitely on the Saturday, where I'll just get this profiled nicely, and then we're actually black base it, for want of a better word, all the clear parts. So the framework from the inside looks correct. Some of it will be green, some of it obviously is going to be in black. So we'll paint it accordingly on there. And then we can give this one a wet coat of primer right over it. And then we are going to take it literally a step back from it next week to let it go off. So it will sit just basically in primer and we're all ready to go. But yeah, so very happy with that one. That one's been going along nicely. And then today, to be honest with you, I started on this little gem. So this is the ye olde Corsair from 1989, which is this one. So literally the golden age, as I said before, of Hasegawa kits, right the way through. So literally we've been working on this. So we've done a seamless type intake. So we've got that going. I've got the cockpit together. So this is technically all ready for paint. So hopefully tomorrow I'll get the old grey down to the cockpit areas, things like that, get it painted up. And then to be honest, I'll use the poster pen to run around all the details on the inside, dry brush it right the way through. Going to make some harnesses, little scratch built harnesses for the seat. We'll get that one all together and then we'll get going with that. The only trouble is now I'm going to have to do a little bit of filming tomorrow, either on this or I'm going to have to then do the next bit onto the actual Halifax, because I've got 21 minutes of footage edited and ready to go on the Halifax, and I haven't edited any of this yet, but I've probably got enough for part one by the time we get this one painted and dealt. So I don't know which one. It's going to be a mystery to me too, what you're going to get tomorrow sort of midday down on this one, if it's going to be the next part on the Halifax or it'll be part one of the Corsair for members. So keep an eye out for that one. So we're doing all of that. And then because I haven't got enough to do, I've been really busy this week with this little lot. Some of them, to be honest, I did the review, the filming for it anyway over the course of the weekend, just to have to edit it together. So up this week, we've got the Devastator. So obviously the Great Wall Hobbies one we reviewed before. It's actually a very nice kit, to be honest with you. This thing, I would say, is probably much on par with it. Really, really nice details with this one, right the way through the surface texture and everything like that. You can go off and see the review. That is up live now. And then obviously the Messerschmitt, which I know is a very old kit. I think it's 2007 this one first came out, and it's been rehashed, new parts and, you know, all the rest of it to get it up to the K4 standard as it is now. And again, it's got some quirks, it's got some fit issues, it's got some various you know, shape issues and things like that, but unless you are a real aficionado, it's not a problem. But the big thing is, and I don't know why there's been a little bit of a fuss online about the review for it, is that people are saying it's about a really expensive kit. It's not. I think we had about for like 28 quid. So it's actually quite a cheap kit, and for a 30-second scale kit for 28 quid, it's not a problem. So I will forgive it all its problems and little errors, and why do you put the cannon drums in when you don't have the cannons fitted, and various things to it. But you do get a full engine detail in this one. Obviously the cockpit doesn't look too bad either. I know obviously you've got people saying, oh, it's not very accurate, it's this, that and the other. It's typical early trumpeter. Nowadays they're a lot more refined and a lot nicer, but for the price point, it's a bargain. It's a 30 quid kit at the end of the day. So I think for that money, for a 30-second scale kit, I don't think it's a problem. You know, you can forgive it some of those little things like that. And up for members, and it will make its way out in the next couple of days as well. For non-members, I've done the review of the actual MiniArt Puma. And again, it's a beautiful kit. It's really, really nice. Obviously, this is for the external version one. They do another kit, which I've given the kit numbers in the actual review and all the rest of it, the one with the full internal details as well. So this particular one obviously is just an outward one, more of a straightforward. Still got quite a complicated, I would say, sort of, you know, with all the sort of drive stuff going underneath, you know, all the sort of bits under there. But again, really, really nice, good details, very, very sharp, and interesting how they've done the tyres. Because on the review bit, which I've got up here for the members to see, the tyres are multi-part, so which look like this. So you've actually got, this is one tyre is made up of 5 pieces. So this is the outward hub. Then you've got the inside, and you can see it's got the teeth. Then you put the next one on, and then the next one. Then over the other side, you've got the inner part of it. Obviously, it hasn't got this hub here. It's reversed in there. So that's how they've done it. So technically, there's no seam lines in the tyres, which I think is very clever, how they've hidden them in the tread pattern. Haven't seen that before. I don't know if you've seen one like that before, Matt?
No, I can remember. I don't know. I don't know if somebody's done it before, but yeah, it's not very common, shall I say, because it's just easier to have 2 halves and then you just sand the seam down, isn't it? Or as in definitely. A lot of things now, it's resin wheels. You know, a lot of aftermarket companies do resin wheels, but yeah, to eliminate seam line, there is actually another kit that did do that, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but it's a long time ago. It's a good few years ago. It's not, let's say, it's not a common a commoner thing as you would think, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You know.
Yeah.
Can you remember the Mozzie you built?
Yeah, that had a very interesting one. To
With
be
the
honest, I went
Tamiya
down the
in it?
line of doing the resin replacement wheels, but I did build them just to show it in the build. But yeah, it was like jigsaw. You built
Yeah.
all the tread all the way around it, and it made it seamless. It was very, very clever how they did it. But I haven't actually seen that one before personally, because literally you start off with the outer one, and then you glue the next one, and then the inner part. And because you've got the grooves in the rubber, that's where the seams are. So it makes it seamless. And I did think that's actually quite an interesting way of doing it right the way through. So yeah, very, very nice. And I have to say, when you obviously, members, you can watch the review now, but when it comes out on YouTube, on the free to watch area, that obviously, like I say, actually I've got a bit of an itch now because I quite like that. I think it's one of those ones. It's quite interesting. It's different, you know.
Is that got 4-wheel steering? Can you think of the wheel?
Yes. I assume you can to it. Yeah.
Pose the steering on it, because again, I think that's been the downside of the older kits, because I think Italeri was the original one to do a Puma, and obviously that's going back to the 70s or 80s when it came out. I can't remember how old that is, but again, it's a wise choice to do that. I know we've also had the rifle one, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you obviously, with the Puma, they're all coming at once, aren't they? But Dragon did a family of them as well, and I don't know if I can't remember if you could pose the actual steering on them as well, because that has got like a front and back steering, hasn't it? It's a 4-wheel steering configuration. So I know the Ryefield one has, and I didn't know about, because I sent you that as we had it, so you could review it. So I've not really looked at it, but it's good that you do it, because it adds a bit more dynamics to it when it's static, because it's very square on if the wheels are pointing in one direction.
Facing the same way. Yeah.
But again, from their point of view, and Ryefield, and obviously what Dragon did back in the day, and originally Italeri, there's offshoots of that where you've got the one with the Pack 40, you've got the flak one. I think there's about 4 different variants of it. So they're obviously going to go down that road, because they're going to get the most out of the molds again, aren't they? So, interesting though. Good.
It is. I thought it's really, really interesting, and I can see myself doing it. You get some nice, interesting. I think there was 6 schemes in there, as well, and they're all around about 44, 45 timeline.
Yeah.
So I just really, really sort of, it's one of those ones I was thinking, I'm not massively into armor, but that's something quite nice. So instead of tracked, having the wheeled as well, just something a little bit different in there. Yeah. So, anyway, that one's up with you as well. Next week, I've got a T-72 AV, which is the Ukrainian version, coming up as well from Amusing Hobbies, and a few other bits and pieces as well. So, yes, we've got that one coming up. And then just to go on the back of it, I'll do it next week. So I'm trying to get through a massive backlog I've got down there. Just because we love Pumas, this is Magic Factory. They sent me this one, very nice of them, which is the brand new 72nd scale version, which is... little dinky kit, very nice.
Become really popular, hasn't it? All of a sudden, everybody.
Literally, all of a sudden, Pumas are coming out. Like I said in the review, I get excited and then I find out it hasn't got a rotor on the roof. So, we're going to send you a Puma. Okay, fair enough, very nice. But anyway, speaking of them, big of a shout out to Magic Factory, because they sent me this week. This is their new. As you can see, kit here coming down the line. I'll do the review of this one next week as well. That actually looks very nice indeed. And also they sent me to go along, because hopefully it won't be long now, for the Skyhawk coming down the line. So this is their pilot set that's coming out for it as well. So, and again, it's down in here and it's resin. I will do a review of these and you'll see this one. But for anybody who's got a Skyhawk, so I assume you fit into any Skyhawk, or if you've got obviously your name down for the actual Magic Factory one, then you can get the crew for it as well. So it's quite nice. He's climbing up the steps, and you get the steps with the kit, with his helmet bag and that ready to go.
So are they 3D printed, are they? Or
yes, they are 3D printed. I haven't opened it up yet, but you can see them in there. Yeah. They are 3D printed, stood on his head in the 3D printer. Well, I suppose it would be actually, because it comes out like that, doesn't it? It's hanging by his head. So yeah. But so anyway, those came through this week as well. So big shout out to Magic Factory. Thank you very much. And I'll have a good review of them and a proper look at them next week as well. So yeah, it's all good.
Good.
So yes, that's nice. That was my week. How was yours?
Apart from
trying to move a company.
So yeah, we've had loads of stuff come in for pre-orders, which we'll talk about in a minute. and stock wise, which I was kind of hoping would be waiting till we've moved, but we're trying to get them out anyway. But I've also been just pottering along with this thing. So this is the 24th Spitfire Mark 5, and I've just managed to tape it together. I wanted to see what the gaps are like on it. So it is ready literally to button up at the minute. So let me just I've been thinning the cowlings out because I'm having it all shut up. So I've just been test fitting the cowlings and thinning them out just to make sure they fit nice and as flush as I can get them. But to show you what I've been up to. So that's a 3D printed seat.
Very nice.
Steel seat belts from Edward. I've got not that you can see it very well in there. I might have to rip this to bits, but there's a Yahoo instrument panel in there.
Right.
I don't know if you can see that very well. I think it's actually for the trumpeter one, but I've made it fit this one because trumpeter obviously kind of copied Airfix, didn't they, a little bit?
Yes,
I
think so.
So yeah, hence why my engine's silver, because I just aerosoled it with a coat of black primer and then just silver inside before painted me cockpit green. So it is a little bit lacking, shall we say, in the cockpit department. But again, for 24th scale, you still don't see a lot in there, do you? Let's be honest.
No. That's the trouble. Unless you're going to cut it open like I did for the Typhoon, I don't think you're ever going to see anything at that scale. It's just unfortunate that by the time you put that canopy onto it as well, and the thick old glass it's got,
actually, the canopy
you don't see much.
Not bad. I will show you. Oh, it's up there. I can't show you. Sorry, I thought it was behind me. I've moved it. But actually, I don't know if the 5 canopy is different to the 1 because it seems a lot clearer and the fit's really nice. I don't know because I don't know what alterations. I know there's 2 sprues that was added for the weapons, the guns, and you could do the trot version. Obviously some Mark 5 bits, and then the other ones originally, obviously the fuselage and stuff is originally the Mark 1 from when was it till 1970, I think.
Yes.
But I don't know if they redid the clear parts. To be honest, I don't know. But they seem all right anyway. So yeah, I've just been pottering along with that. So my next thing is to get it all buttoned up and obviously glued together. Deal with the seam work, and then I'm going to deal with the wings because obviously this is the original wings, I think, and let's just say the cannons are a bit vague on the fit. Because they're just trying to make them fit. But you've built this, haven't you? You've built one. Yeah, so if you can remember, it's a bit vague with the cannon and a few of the guns, but I'm sure we'll get it to work. But yeah, actually, quite enjoying it. It's just a lot of clean up and test fitting, usual thing with an older kit. But yeah, it's all right. It's coming along.
So your particular one, how old was it done? Is this an old kit or is this a more modern one?
Well, the original Mark 5 came out in 2005. So what they've done is took the Mark 1 and then done a couple of extra sprues to make a Mark 5. Because I actually thought the Mark 5 was a lot older than that. But
so did I actually. But obviously, I thought I must have built it then when it first came out. Because I think I built it around about then as well. Yeah,
because I scale mated it, and they did. It might be, but actually, it might be 2001. It's 2000. It's later than I thought it was anyway when I scale mated it. And this one's a red boxing, so obviously it's a newer boxing of it, which is you can build the Polish Squadron one, only one decal option. But I've got some one-man army stencils.
Yes.
To use on it. In fact, I'll just get me box down and I can show them. So because after doing the other one, so there's the pull that a bit. There you go. So there they go. And again, I don't know if this isn't for the trumpeter one, but you get fine for that. Yeah. Everything in there, I think you get 2 different planes you can do. Yeah. As it shows you there, look, so you can do a Polish one and somebody else's. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they work, and also obviously on a bigger scale, it'll just all blend in nicely rather than trying to use decals. Yes. So yeah, no, we're getting there with it. Again, definitely the upgrades have done. Cause I've, apart from the seat as well, I printed off a new control stick, grip, column, whatever you want to call it, because the kit one is just awful. Yeah, it's proper shit. It's really bad and clunky. So, I just thought, well, you can print it off. I think it's a free file as well if you look. And I printed some new wheels off as well. some 3D printed wheels, which are here, and they've got a flat spot as well.
Yeah.
So they are the right spoked. I've got the middle somewhere. There you go. Hold on. There you go.
Very nice.
And they're going to be quite nice. I'm going to have to obviously alter the fitment to fit the
Yes, the hub. Yeah.
Yeah. But they look a lot better than obviously them rubber tail ones. The only one I've used is the
tail. Yeah.
It's a rubber tail one, but again, it'll be fine. But yeah, that's I've been pottering along with that in between doing stuff at work. So yeah, but I'm quite enjoying it. Really am. It's quite. I wouldn't say it's a nice kit, but it'll look like a Spitfire when it's done.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So.
Cool. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so in other news that's going on at the moment, the big news, or one of the big news, is this little lump. And as you can see, so this is the new Fokker Wolf by Border. Again, very, very nice. It should turn out to be something quite nice, I would have thought. Obviously you've got the R2, R6, R7 and an R8 version in this.
Yeah, because they did the A, didn't they? Was the first one they did. Because we've had what's I can't remember which one it is. I presume it's an A, or or was it an F? Might have been an F. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tell you, they're sticking with this scale, aren't they? Good
I
for
know,
them.
and this is it. They're just pushing on with it and sort of bugger what everyone else says. We're just going to go for it. But it works, and I think fair play to them. But it does look very, very tasty. They always come out looking really, really nice.
Yeah. Are you tempted to try one yet? A 35th aeroplane?
I must admit, I am now, because we've been talking about it for so long.
Yes.
That I'm thinking perhaps we ought to give one a whirl. It is a really, really nice engine. To be honest, that's the first picture I saw when it was on about it on the old internet. Yeah. And I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, that's quite nice." And then I flick on, and it's this one. So I thought, "Oh, that's quite nice in 35th." So,
yeah.
But again, it's nice that obviously they must be selling them. At the end of the day, otherwise they would have dropped this thing like a hot potato. If it wasn't working, but they've decided to stick with it and keep going, and it's obviously working for them now. So fair play, because we've been talking about it for a long time, and obviously I remember, was it the 109 was the first one out? Or...
109, yeah. Then they did the Stuka.
Yeah.
Didn't they? After that, they've done another version of a 190. They've done the Japanese dive bomber, Kate, or something. They've done the Spitfire Mark 5B, which we'll talk about in a minute because that's come out. We've just had that in, and then obviously they're doing that. So, and they're doing the. I wonder what's happened to the 111. That was the one, weren't it? Where we got the
one
viewing figures for the 111 in 35th. Wonder what that's.
Yeah, that's one of the highest viewing figures we've had for our show because I put up the CAD work for it, and everyone got very excited.
Yeah.
So that's gone quiet, hasn't it? Actually, that's a good point. It's funny how you forget about these things. They put them out, get us all excited, and then look, you can have a 190. Where's the HE 111? So
I'm sure they'll do it. I'm sure it will. It will materialise. Because I remember us talking about the Mark 5, and that's only just arrived with us.
Come through now. Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning of the year, weren't it, when we were talking about the 111? So I'm sure that will materialise. Because we say, I wonder what else they will do. If they're tackling something of a 111 side, you could go anywhere with that, can't you, really? If you
definitely
you think about it. So especially, US medium bombers, Ju-88s.
Yeah.
All sorts, Dorniers, I don't know. There's loads of things they could do, isn't there? Mosquitoes, 35th Mozzie.
Yeah. The 35th Mozzie, that'd be nice.
Or Bowfighter. That's tasty. Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
That's
it.
We'll
as I say, if you're starting to go down that thing of them, they could do a nice 110. Be nice to have a nice one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
we'll see, won't we? But yeah, it will be nice to see that one, and obviously the 111 when it comes out. So yeah.
Very, very nice. The other big news, obviously, is another Phantom for all the Phantom fanatics out there. So obviously Zukamori, again, they're sort of working their way through the Phantom family and all of them. This is obviously the late one now. So again, very nice as well. And it comes with 3D acrylic instrument panel sets.
Yeah, just look at that. So two optional parts. They've got a photo etch set and a 3D set, is it?
So obviously they're going...
Because we've had a pre-order for that, and it's been, delivered today with the J's, because the J's got re-released as well. Actually, the J's have been more popular than that, to be honest, as a re-release. But But yeah, I didn't know that was coming with it actually. The 3D.
Well, it doesn't come with it. I think they're probably an
Oh, the
aftermarket bit
extras.
for it, aren't they? Yeah, they are extras for it.
Ah,
But
right.
again, it's nice to see, that obviously, let's face it, there is other manufacturers available, like Quinta, but obviously they're going down that route as well. So they've always done photo etch and various weapon sets, haven't they, in the past and things
They've
like
done a
that for
lot,
some of
there's a
their
lot,
kits.
yeah.
But obviously for the Phantom lot as well, for them to be coming down and doing that. So yeah, just thought it'd be a little bit different.
I wondering, like the actual the 3D printed stuff. We've always said this with other manufacturers. Obviously, Edward are on it anyway, but I wonder if it might become the norm that you just get them in the kit.
I think we're waiting for that. As you say, we're starting to see common now, various parts coming in. I should think they're going to start to get common in there as well.
Because surely then, for a manufacturing point of view, all you've kind of got to do is a basic tub, haven't you? And then a basic instrument panel with no detail on it. And then obviously you just chuck in a 3D set. And, it's a bit like when you used to get decals, isn't it? Say the old Esky kit or something, or an Italeri kit where it was really plain and you put the decals on, or, you're going back, but obviously you're on now a completely different level with the 3D decals sort of thing. It makes sense, wouldn't it, really? Why put all that time and effort in research and all that to when you don't need to? You could just do the basic shapes and put the decals on.
Yeah,
I don't
definitely
know. Just an option, isn't it?
But again, I noticed. Obviously, I'm not saying these are Quinta for a minute because I don't think they are. They're from somebody else. But this one's definitely Edard because you've got Edard on the fret.
I wonder if they're Edward. Are you sure they're not just
could it be a Zoom spec? Sorry, space set. Yeah,
space, is it, or whether they do?
It could be a space set for it. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I wonder if it is a space set.
Probably is actually. If they're dealing with Edward, you know what I mean? Then probably that's a space set for a Phantom. Cool.
Very nice.
Cockpit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hot on the heels of that one, obviously, let's face it, is another Sky Raider because I thought they did them all, but apparently not.
No.
So this is another one that's out. Pre-order ends soon. It's ended. So, but yeah, so I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that AD6 has already been out because interesting. But again, it may be another one of it. If it is, obviously there's a ton of stuff for that they do manufacture themselves as well, such as the 3D printed type cockpit bits and pieces. You've got the weapon set for it and all the rest of it. Because for the people who have got long memories, you'll know when the first version of this came out, it all came out as sort of aftermarket bits for it and all the rest of it. So there's plenty of that stuff out for it as well. So if you want to grab that particular one, that one's coming down the line as well. So very, very news. Somebody's just saying there about, is there any news on the F4J?
Yeah, we've just got it in.
I was going to say, Matt just said he's just got it in.
Yeah, we've had boxes arrive today. The only problem we've got is we're moving. So we're not going to get them processed until we've moved, I'm afraid. I was hoping, obviously, to get stuff done before we moved. But, we've only got tomorrow, and obviously they still need invoices and stuff. So I'm afraid you're going to have to wait for a little week and a little bit, and then we'll get them out to you. But yeah, they are in. They're here.
All right. My earwig has just told me that apparently they're Red Fox Studios.
Oh, the Red
3D
Fox
printed ones.
Fair enough.
So they won't be cheap then.
No.
So very nice.
I'm sure.
Anyway.
Sorry, I'm just about to say, I'm sure if you want like Quinta, Edward, who else do them now? I don't know. There must be somebody else who will do 3D printed decals for a Phantom.
Yeah, they're all Quinta will do it and everybody else will do it for it. Yeah, it'll be just coming along shortly. They're just asking in chat, Matt, have we invoiced for the F4Js yet?
No.
No
invoice anything because literally they've only turned up today. So no, there's no invoicing or anything. And obviously, like I say, with us literally shutting down tomorrow dinner after the post is gone. We could invoice you, but you're not going to get it until we open back up.
Until we've moved and got ourselves sorted. Yeah, you got to imagine, guys. We'll talk about it in a minute, but it's going to be absolute chaos next week.
Yeah.
Speaking of chaos, and something else that's just arrived at long last. Apologies for the box art, but I couldn't find anything better. The A10Cs. We've been talking about this kit for how long?
Oh, don't know. Last year.
It feels like ever. But anyway, finally they've racked up. So the long-awaited, brand new Great Wall Hobbies A10C does look nice, to be honest. As I say, I get my greasy little paws on one, I'll do a review of it and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So, but finally, they have just literally turned up as well. So watch this space on that particular one, and we'll get that one sorted. In other news as well, for the P39, for the Air Cobra.
Yeah, we've had that turn up as well.
That's just turned up as well. So that is in and doing its thing. So again, that's another little one that's just turned up. It's amazing how we're just about to shut down and move everything, and then everything literally has turned up this week.
You won't believe what's turned up this week. I was hopefully for a steadier week just to get myself set for next week.
Yeah.
It's just all gone off. So it's good. At least it's stuff is coming out, because it's been a bit quiet again for the past month or so, hasn't it? You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that looks all right. I don't mind a P38, to be honest. Bit different, bit quirky.
Yeah, no, it is something a little bit nice on there. And as we spoke about before, obviously the Ryfield Models version with the Puma has turned up.
Yes.
So this one has got the interior. It comes with it, so you don't have an option. So it does come with both the dual front and rear drivey things and the engine and all the bits and pieces of this particular one.
Yeah, I think it's part interior, isn't it? With that, I don't think it's the full on.
I don't know. I thought when we were going through it the other week, I thought it did have the interior, because I was saying about, can you drive it from the front and back then? And apparently you can.
Yeah, you can. 'Cause it's 4-wheel steering, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's got a partial interior, so you got like top of an engine and a bit of other bits. But I don't think it, like I say, it's the full on experience of a MiniArt interior kit where you're building every last nut and bolt and stuff. So yeah.
Just to answer Neil, no, there's not a review sample on PM, because I haven't even reviewed it yet. Gives a chance. I think he means for the Great War Hobbies A10.
No.
So yes, I need to review it first, then it will go up onto there. So yes, very, very nice. So good stuff making their way down. Definitely.
Yeah, there is, isn't there? You haven't showed the Border Models Mark 5 Spit that's turned up.
Hold on, I've got to try and find it. Hold on.
Because again, we've no invoiced them. They have turned up, the Mark 5, whoever's put the name down their ear, but obviously, again, they only just turned up as well. So we'll get them invoiced as and when, shall we say.
Hold on.
If everything goes smoothly, we might be just doing invoicing next week.
Yes.
He says.
Yeah, if it goes smoothly. Hold on, I want to talk about yourselves. You're just making me scroll further than I've ever scrolled before.
Scrolling.
Scroll. Because I've got to go back in history to find the picture of it.
Could just got it off our site.
I could have done. Is it up on the site, is it?
On our pre-order site, isn't it? Picture.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, God, that's even worse to try and find. Hold on.
Don't panic.
Don't panic, everyone. Hold on.
Don't panic. We're still here.
Look, you've still done it. Talk amongst yourselves a minute. Hold on. I won't bore everyone by taking it around the forum.
Right,
what have we got? Magic Factory Skyhawk, Spitfire, Hanking Models, PM T-shirt. You must have one of them. Crayons, A10, Shannon Lifeboat. Some of these need ending and moving off, clearly. More. Oh no, that's the A6. Is that the one I was just talking about then? Have we already? I didn't realise we had a pre-order for that as well. Oh no, we have done. Okay, so forget that one we were talking about. I didn't realise it was already up for pre-order. Found it. Okay.
Got it.
You better have a good picture up in after all of this.
Well,
sort of. We spoke about this one because we were saying he's in a really bad position here tactically. He's absolutely stuffed.
Yes.
So, yeah, he's going to have to pray for. He's going to have to hit the brakes, and this guy's going to have to fly right by. It's the only way this is going to work. But then he's a bit worried because he's still got two more behind him.
Yes.
But anyway, yes. So that one is up and is available.
Yeah, it's out. We've got them. We've got the box full now, and obviously they're going to be invoiced along with the others. But again, talking to 135th and Spitfire Mark 5s, which is obviously the best mark of Spitfire.
Yeah.
Hands down. It'd be interesting, and obviously Phil's going to get one of them for review as well. So
nice. Yes. Yeah.
Be interesting, actually. I've tackled that. I wonder what the Merlin's like.
Yeah, because obviously we did when we were looking at the cab work. It didn't look too bad in there.
No. No. No.
No.
Good stuff.
Very nice.
Right, so there we go. Anyway, new arrivals wise, we've had a few, and we had the HK Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Lancaster turn up as well. So, if you have been invoiced, please check your things, because we're still waiting for payers. So we could do with trying to get them out as well, as quick as possible. So, especially on the A10s, I think we've got some stragglers on the A10s. So please pay up, and I can get them out to you as soon as. Or else
you know what we say? Pay up, otherwise Andy will come round and he'll put a bat up your nightshirt.
Not happy.
So
happy man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. Right. Okay. That's about that. Do you want to do a couple of questions?
We can. Let's just mention one thing though. We haven't. What is actually been released is the Sword Gannet. After it should have been out in April, then May, then June.
Yeah.
It has been released. I've seen proof. So I reckon very soon we will be having our notification that we need to pay for them.
Right. Okay.
So waiting for that. So there's another one. You're going to have loads of reviews to do, aren't you?
I'm going to be tons. I've had a pile next to me, and it's been growing because it's been getting bigger than I can get rid of them recently. And I'm literally just down now to the last 2 reviews I've got down there. So I thought, we're just getting ahead. And now suddenly it's all going to come back and get going again. I thought it'd be very good getting 3 out a week for the last couple of weeks. So, yes, never mind. I'll be back on it. Don't worry. We'll get them all sorted. It'll be good.
We can do some questions.
Yes, a couple of questions just down in here. First of all, from Peter, he said, living in Spain and the weather is extremely hot at the moment. My question is, will paint take longer to dry in these conditions? Things I paint yesterday still seem slightly tacky. Mainly AK extreme metal colours.
Oh no, that's just the nature of the paint, because it's a enamel based paint.
And although they say it's a lacquer.
Yeah, allegedly. I'll say
allegedly. Yeah.
You've got to give them at least 48 hours to a bit longer, wherever the temperature's hard enough, because it's just the nature of the paint. I fell into that trap. Phil fell into that trap, and everybody else says, "Oh, it feels dead dry," and then you just wear through it. Trust me, when that stuff's gone properly off, it's solid. It is proper tough, but it's really fragile, even though it's touch dry. To wear through it when you're handling it in edges and stuff. So it's one of them you have got to put it aside at least for 48, 72, whatever. Just leave it to properly dry. I mean, the temperatures here, Evan, you think it'd be baked on, wouldn't you? Just stick it outside in the sun.
You would have thought so.
But
probably melt it though. It'll just the plastic will melt instead.
Again,
I did a little bit of a thing, and it wasn't being horrible. And I know sometimes everyone thinks I come over a little bit harsh, but it was to prove a point, because I'm correct and everyone else is wrong. So what I actually did was, when we did the B17, I was being told all the time how the paint is soft and you can't hold it, you can't mask over it, you can't put masking tape near it, you can't do that. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to prove the fact. So go back and have a look at the B17 build. It's an old one now, but literally we did all the walkways and masked the lot, and we showed it that once it had gone off and totally cured, it's safe. But what you have to allow is that time. And if you're in cold, damp conditions, it can take weeks to properly go off. If you're in a nice hot country, which clearly you are in Spain, it's probably only going to take, I'll give it 3 or 4 days and it'll be like nails. But you need it to get to rock hard. So basically you're not going to be able to rub through it or scratch it, because once it's gone off, it's an enamel. All right, lacquer enamel, but it's going to be rock hard. But it takes time. It's one of those things. If you pick up your model, I call it the old sticky test. All right. So hold it in your hand until it's sticky. Basically, hold it in your hand for a minute and then let go. If you feel it's like it's sticky, it ain't got off, and it's going to take a while. One of the things with this paint as well, if you put down heavy coats, it's going to take a really long time to go off. Keep it nice and thin. Nice little thin coat. Let it dry off. Give it 20 minutes, half an hour. Next to the very light coat. You can build them up really, really quickly and get proper rock hard paint in there. But if you're like, a one and done type of chap or chapess, you can take a long time for it to seal. And again, I tell you, it's exactly the same as with the Halifax. I gave it some of the AK 3rd Gen primer. That's a classic. If you put that on too hard, or too thick, I should say, it just doesn't go hard. It's sticky for ages. And I've noticed actually in the last couple of days, it's now cold, as I call it. There's no warmth to that at all. It's not stickiness. It's cold when you hold it in your hands and you let go. There's nothing. But until then, it felt a little bit sticky. But that's honestly now taken a week to go off. And I know that's my fault because I was a little bit frustrated and I was trying to get a nice, thick, smooth coat on it, put it down way too thick. And then, you know, technically that's the trouble. You try and sand it in various things, it just rolls up because it's not totally cured either. So keep your coats nice and thin.
I mean, to be fair, fine. I think, you know, talking of paint, acrylics, I was painting the cockpit of this, which is Gen 3 RAF cockpit grey green. And I was going over to aerosol can of bare metal silver, I think it is, from TS, one of the TS colours, or AS, whichever one it is. AS, isn't it? AS 12. Which I like, as when I'm doing these bigger kits, it's just nice. There, you know, it goes down and it's a nice metallic silver, shall we say, or aluminium colour, whatever you want to call it. But again, because of what I was doing, I've not really let it cure properly, and it's easy to mark. I think the only paint that you can probably get away with is pure lacquers, isn't it? Because they do go pretty quick, you know, give it a few hours and they're pretty solid. I think for the rest of them, like say if you're an enamel painter or a pure acrylic painter, everything, you're going to have to give it time because, it just stays a bit softer longer before it properly cures. You know, if you want to speed up, again, just to make it a bit more durable, shall we say, any of the acrylics, just drop a bit of gloss varnish in it, acrylic gloss varnish, or even satin or whatever. It just helps with the, I wouldn't say the curing time, but the handleability, shall we say.
The durability of it.
Durability.
Hardens it off a bit.
Yeah. So.
Just a quick one there, because I've got our chat up in front of me. Lauren's asked quite a good question, and Matt can have this as well. He says, "Hi, Phil. Got a question. Is there a specific technique you haven't mastered yet, but anxious to learn?"
Oh, yeah. CAD. CAD design.
Nothing to do with modelling. CAD would be a good one.
CAD, seriously. Honestly, if I could learn, you know, think to learn how to CAD the world.
If you could CAD, things would be so much easier because I'll just replace everything here.
Before that, it's scratch building for me. It would definitely be scratch building and stuff. Just having that knowledge, I think, of how to get around things and shapes and how to do it. But honestly, the more, obviously, I know me and Phil go on loads about 3D printing, but geez, I've had my eyes open lately with a few stuff that somebody I've been talking to who's done some design work, and obviously, you know, John off the site as well, who's done some design work for us, and just I wish I could go back to school and learn how to CAD.
Yes, no, I agree. It's one of those ones that if you can CAD, it makes life very, very straightforward and easy, especially for modelling. For me, to be honest with you, thanks to Matt, many years ago, I learned how to do gloss work because that was just awful. My gloss work was just on a par with being satin. Yeah. It was never shiny. It was never like a car or anything else like that. And it's not one of those, I never suffered from orange peel and things like other people get. I just suffered from it looking like it was satin. I couldn't get that high gloss mirrored finished. And then Matt taught me through mixing paint, thinning paint, low air pressure, flooding it, all of those things. And then that one came along quite nicely. I suppose my big thing I would like to learn, because I've got no idea, is actually like figure painting. And I know Matt's done loads of it, but I haven't had time to try it, you know. And unfortunately, in this job, it's one of those things. There's not enough hours in the day to be able to set aside, because obviously you guys want to see videos and stuff. So I haven't got time just to play. But that's something where, you know, figure painting, I just slap down basic skin color and then dry brush, wash it, and that's it. That's about it for me. So I've never learnt that technique and that art form. And again, same with doing dioramas and things. It's one of those things. It's I know I joke about it, but it's a lot of poking at it with a stick, you know, because you're positioning things and doing things and to get it right. And there's two types of diorama in the world. There's the one that you're just going to plonk your model on. If you've got that one, which is literally like somebody's just cut it out of the earth, out of the physical planet, and put it onto a plinth, because they've got the composition and the angles, and you've got, what is it you call it, the tall bit, you got your vertical and
you just want levels. It's all about
and all things like that.
I mean, you don't have to, but it's again, I think it's what you prefer. But when I've done it, I like a bit of height, and I like the levels, and you just stuff to look at. Like you always say, when you look at a proper artistic let's bring Kev up, shall we? Because he is a bit of a dab hand and a bit of an artist. You're not just looking at the actual vehicle if you're there, or the figures, because there's always other stuff going on, and it just follows your eyes round, and you can, it keeps your interest. It's like a proper 3D picture, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a proper piece of art. All of it is a all-encompassing thing. It doesn't matter if you're looking at the grass, you're looking at gravel or stones. It's just all right and all looks very good.
I mean, we'll pull that down, but you're kind of framing it as well.
Yeah.
You've got your backdrop, so there's something behind the actual piece that you want to show off. And whatever it is, whether it's a tree, whether it's a telegraph pole or a building or anything, like I say, it just frames it. It just gives it a focal point, I suppose. And you want your eye, and obviously don't do anything square. Everything's kind of off.
Yeah.
Which was a thing, I think, from Shepherd Payne, who kind of pioneered dioramas back in the day. But again, there's all bits and stuff going off on there with a blown up building to whatever, but I've just got to add the figure.
I
don't know, it just adds something. It adds something to an aeroplane or a ship. When you see ships in the sea, I don't know, it just takes the actual object to me and puts it in a real world situation. Does that make sense? Rather than just standalone.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it's one of those things as well, is that you often in the hobby, like for me, if you just want me to build you certainly aircraft, but pretty much anything, I can do it. Not a problem at all. So it's not like I can model, I can do gloss work, I can do pretty much everything. And weathering, it doesn't matter which way you're doing it. Got all that down packed. But it's then taking it onto those next areas. Again, another good one is doing water. And you get people who do water and people who do water that looks perfectly right. Again, it's one of those areas where you're obviously going to spending a lot of time, little trial and error, what's working for you. But again, that's one of those areas to do a nice ship going through water with a proper nice bow wave that looks really nice to it and all the rest of it, especially in different scales. So if you're working in perhaps the smaller scales in the 1 to 700 series and stuff like that, doing water effects with that is totally different if you're doing a 1/35th scale PT boat or something. Again, it's how it works. And it, as you say, many times you'll see people who do water and it's okay, it looks really nice, the model looks great, but you'll see other ones and it looks like they've just taken a slice out of the ocean. And it's like a photo. It is really, really well done. And again, I tip my hat to things like that as well. It's very, very clever how it's done. And again, that's the nice thing about this hobby, because obviously you get people who are probably more into that. So obviously they're going to focus a lot of their work and various models they do on marine type environment stuff, for doing, submarines and ships or various things around it, because that's what they've sort of cut their teeth into and enjoy doing. With me, like I said before, it's one of those things, I've got a very broad knowledge over everything, but I don't specifically, focus in a particular area. Obviously, my one is aircraft, what I do. But again, it's one of those things like, it depends also what you're into. So I know there's obviously a big genre now for weathered models, but I don't know if it's just me, but it seems to be moving away from that again. It used to be that oval, I'd say, all right, can't say that because I get flamed, but it is that thing about heavily weathered models, and then obviously, the difference between it looking like it's going in a scrapyard forever and just, a heavily worn model on the flight line and that. But it just seems to be over the recent sort of 12 months that people seem to be moving away from the really heavy model stuff and getting the more realistic, what I would call flight line look models for aircraft and stuff like that as well. And that's definitely the side I prefer than the heavily weathered. But again, if you're into your heavy weathered stuff, then that's just part of it. It's another side of the hobby and all different things like that. But I think it's one of those things we were talking about on the show last week, and we were giving advice on weathering the car. Was it the NASCAR? And that going through. There's definitely a side of people, because I had people speak to me afterwards and they were saying about, they were with Matt Abbott at the beginning of the race when they're mint because they look nice and pristine. Yeah, that's the one. Clean and nice.
Pristine.
Pristine. It's funny. I owned a company called Pristine. when I was 21. I know. I can't even pronounce it yet. I used to own a company that was called Pristine. But yeah, so anyway, the thing is that you've got this sort of, a genre. And again, you've got almost two sides of it, because you could do really worn down, scuffed up NASCARs. We were saying about how to do the rubber chipping on them and the various grime that they pick up during a race, versus do you do it as a really nice, pristine, polished, highly polished, you see them in the pits, don't you, polishing the cars and all things like that. Which camp are you almost in with it as well, So
I think the problem is with cars, it can sometimes look a bit die cast when they're too clean.
Yeah, when they're too clean. Yeah, absolutely.
But again, I think it's a matter of taste, isn't it? The good thing is as well, though, the knowledge is out there for whichever way you want to go, isn't it? If you just want to build a really clean model and just give it a little panel line wash, and that's what you like, that's fine. And then if you really want to get to sound and really start to weather something and beat it up, the knowledge is in. Again, with the water, it's something I've not tried. I've got water products, but I've never tried it, and it's probably something I should have a go at some point. With the 2-part resin waters and all the gels and everything to make the waves and all the other bits and bob. I've never tried it, but I've got the books on it. I've got the AK books. We've got the FAQs, and there is one on water and ice.
Yes.
So, the products are definitely there, and loads of videos as well. Again, go back to the old YouTube stuff. There's loads. I mean, AK obviously do it. I think probably Megan, who actually produce it, Vallejo. They produce all their water effects, and there's obviously got tutorials on it, and plus other modelers have done it as well, and quite good tutorials as well that I don't think are hard to follow. So where before you're trying to read a magazine and learn and all that, like we've said before back in the day, them days are long gone. So it's your own personal sort of choice, isn't it, for what how far you want to take it or not.
Definitely, yeah.
I know what you mean though with the weathering side of it. It's being pulled back a lot.
Yeah, I think people are definitely. I just see them now. They don't seem to be as heavy or over the top. It was always the weathering, and that's what it was. Now it seems to be people are almost gone back far, and now just reining it just about. I mean, they're still weathered. Don't get me wrong, but it just don't seem to be almost over weathered. Everything just seems to be look like it's just coming into a scrapyard or been in one.
Yeah.
Now they seem to be taking a little bit of a step back again from it, which is really nice. Just before we go, hold on, just do this because it's going to go in a minute. But Jamie's just pointed out saying that he's not moving away from heavily weathered models. Jamie, you don't have to. And also don't forget, you're such a name in the modelling thing for this. When we're at shows or we see things, we even call it's been hagoed.
Yeah, but to be fair,
it's a compliment.
He has himself back in with what he's been doing a little bit, hasn't he? To be honest, his latest one is not... It's not as bad as
not as hagoed, but we literally call it, and I know I'm not the only one as well. I know other people as well. They call it's been properly hagoed, that one, and that's for really heavily weathered. So I wouldn't knock it. You've actually become a meme.
You are. It's an affectionate term for a weathered.
It's an affectionate term that what we call it. So when we see a model, we'll literally say, "Hey, have you seen the one? It's been properly hagoed, that one." So that's it. You're famous now. You've turned you into a meme.
When he was doing it, he was like one of the pioneers of...
He was. Jamie was the pioneer for scratch building heavily weathered models back in the day.
Yeah. So, fair play.
Well, I'll keep talking. I'll give him a shameless plug.
Are you going to pull out the book?
Yes, oh no, I've moved it.
Oh no, he can't plug your book. By the time you did a new book anyway. Oh God, where's he gone? He's gone. He's lost. He's gone. But yeah, as we're saying, with your weathering and just it's your model. Do what you please.
Sorry, I've moved it. It's in the bookcase, and I can't get it out because it's in the bookcase, and there's stuff on top. And if I do, I'm going to get murdered. But no, that's it. I was going to get your book out, Jamie. You do need a new volume of it.
You do. You need an updated version.
Need an updated one. And you could just call it "How to Hago It." No, it was holding the door open for a while, but it's moved now. It's now properly, holding up the bookcase by the looks of it. But if I pull it out, stuff's going to fall off. So, yes. But no, very nice book, by the way.
I think as well, though, with the weathering side of it, I think scale comes a lot into play as well now. From all the different scales and stuff, because you've got to kind of keep it so it looks won't say realistic. You don't even have to say that, but it looks good. Because I'm like, I've always said, I'm more the artistic side of it than the realistic. That's what I've always been drawn to, the artistic side of it. And that's why I always like the heavy weathering and that side of the Spanish style, if you want to call it that, modelling, which really exaggerated and everything. But actually, I think even I've reined myself in a little bit with it. I've been more experimenting, especially with your washers, shall we say. Now we've got the dust wash, the grime, the dark dirt, the three essentials, as I call them. And what they can do along with the oil paints and even the enamels. I've got quite into them pigment jockeys after all that. I actually really like them. I don't think that's a bad product, to be honest. I just like how I can reactivate stuff. So like with your wash, with that, with oils, you've got a lot of working time. If you don't like it, you can adjust it. You can move it around. You're not kind of dialed in and stuck with it. And I like that because, again, you can adjust it to your own tastes and you know how you want it to look in your mind's eye, shall we say. But they never come out like that, do they?
No.
You know,
that's it.
But I like that because it always takes you in a different direction. Because I just run with it now. I don't fight it. It's something I've learned over the last few years. Is just see where it goes.
Yeah.
You always end up somewhere. But
to be honest, that's the same with me. My style of weathering has always been that thing about, you know, I'm not going to use a reference photo. I'll use various reference photos as a whole, but I won't pick a specific aircraft because I like the creativity of your work almost, you know, and that was it. But I know for a while, I don't know if I still do, but people used to be able to spot my work because I have my style as well. All right, a lot of it's born around the washes. But if you go back sort of 20 years of my style, everyone would know my style because obviously I used to have panel line wash onto it, but it was very much post shading was how I used to do things. It was all airbrush, very, very, if non-existent to anything past the wash and post shading, you know. So I used to post shade panel lines. I used to post shade panels. Then obviously you put the wash down and blend it all like that. But, you know, again, hopefully, you know, your style evolves now. Definitely with me, it's a lot more oil based. You know, the wash does tend to be that thing. I like the way that the wash works with the oils and things. So, yeah, from that point of view, it's just hopefully a lot more natural all over. But again, it's what we say about the hobby, isn't it? As tastes change, your style changes, different products come along. That's what's really good about it. It's not like Lego where it's the same every day. Because with us, you can do new things and try new things and, you know, see how it's going to be and all the rest of it. And that's the nice thing to it. Some things work, some things don't. Some things you end up going back to.
Again, I mean, you could build your Corsair, same kit, say 4 or 5 different ones, and use different weathering products and get completely different results. You know, from pencils 100%. To oils to enamels to your wash. You know, to post shading to airbrush weathering, and you're going to get different effects, aren't you? And that's what I've tried to do over the years is just cherry pick the ones I like, try them all. And I wouldn't say master them, but actually, you know, understand how they work. Yeah, exactly. The properties of it, and then just experiment and what happens if I use that with that, or this product with that product, and blah blah blah, and just see what happens. So, yeah, I think it's always evolving.
I think it's one of those things as well. Is that, you know, from my point of view now, I've been doing this so long, weirdly. But it's funny because obviously I've looked back at some of my commission stuff I did for these because there was a couple of things I didn't remember about this kit because I haven't built it for so long now, and I was doing it, and one of the areas was the speed brake underneath, because obviously it's got an operational speed brake on this, and if you don't know the one on the Corsair, it's this massive bloody shovel that hangs out the bottom, very much like the Crusader. But you know what? I was building it and I was doing it. I did a quick test fit, and I'm thinking, I don't remember that on the kit.
Good God.
You know, literally I was thinking, did it? Because I know the Crusader's got it, because very famously, the Crusader on the deck of the aircraft carrier, over the time, because the pressure would bleed out the aircraft from the hydraulics, it used to come down and lie on the floor. Then when it's powered up, the hydraulics tighten up and pull it all back up in the closed position. But as you say, Corsair didn't. It tended to hold its own. But again, I was thinking, do you know what? I never realised that had a speed brake underneath, so you forget. But it's not a different kit. It's always been like it, but I forgot actually it had a speed brake system onto it. So it's really, really weird. But it's funny because this particular one, as I said, when you watch the opening part of this, my opening statement is that I'm not going to go over the top with this one. This one's going to be like one of my commission builds. So I'm going to keep it quite simple, because the thing is, I don't want to kill off, if you like, the gorgeous markings, because obviously this is a CAG bird. It's going to be in the high vis scheme as well, the classic light gull and white as well. So from my point of view, I want to keep it all quite nice and that, which will be different from me, because normally then I'll be thinking, right, well, that's fade out the panels and do things to it and wear it down. But because it's a CAG bird and all the rest of it, it's supposed to be quite nice and kept clean. So that's what we'll do to it. But it's funny how you forget, you know. And I know obviously the old grey matter's getting old now, so you know, we'll see how we go. Now I'm officially in my 50s. It's one of those things where you're like, I just don't remember it being like that. Still a really nice kit, but it is quite nice to go back though 20 years later and build the same kit, just to see how everything's changed. The products you use change. I'm not using extra thin. I'm actually using it because Matt sent me it, but I'm using the AK Quickset these days. My fillers and stuff that I use are not the fillers I used to use, because in those days I used to use
Squadron,
the Plasto. And no, it's before that. I used to use the Revell Plasto stuff.
All right.
You know, their filler.
Right.
So, because they used to thin it with a little bit of lacquer and, you know, whack it on.
It weren't Humbrol then, was it?
No, I wasn't quite that bad, because I never liked that one. But I used to always like the Revel stuff.
That Plasto, I mean, we sell Plasto. I don't think that's a bad for a hot filler, shall we say?
For a lacquer-based thinner.
Because it was Squadron was one of the originals, weren't it? And then Humbrol do a hot one, don't they? Which you can thin with acetone and, like say, lacquer thinners, can't you? Because you can make kind of a nice putty out of it. And then obviously, like the Plasto one is another one. And then obviously we went to the Perfect Plastic Putty, and then AK's got some, and you know, the Mr. Hobby one, isn't there? That's a lacquer one, isn't it? The Mr. Hobby one, Mr. White and stuff. There's plenty of putties out there, but God, yeah, I remember the old Squadron stuff back in the day, because that just reminds me of 3M. Yeah, so I used to use painting of pinholes and stuff. I used to get the red and the green one, which in the big tube.
The Squadron, the green, that used to be pretty heavy duty stuff, that one. So I used to use that as well. But when I was doing these ones, because these were the ones that I did really early 2000s, and that was before I moved on to Squadron. But because again, it was one of those things. Locally to me, we had one of these department stores. You know, most people have them in their towns. You know, private one to your town, and but it had a toy area. The only paint they had in it was Revell. So I used to be able to get Contactia, so that's been around forever, and obviously Plasto. Never used their paints, because obviously it's enamels and I didn't like them. But that's what I used to use as sundries, was a lot of the Revell range stuff. So that's how it was. But also, because this shows its age of doing these as well, this is before all the fancy paint colours come along. So I used to make a mix out of XF19. And I don't know what it was. It was something like XF55 or whatever, mixed to make up the actual gold grey. And then the white was just flat Tamiya white. So I always use Tamiya paints, but I used to make a mix up to make gold grey. So for it. But again, now, plethora of paints. Everything's changed completely. So it's quite nice to go around and see the differences of how they are now to how it was back in the day. You know? I'm not quite reminiscing to go back using Humbrol tinlets yet. But
let's be honest, the way the hobby's changed in the past 25 years, or perhaps 20 years, is amazing. Obviously the internet's coming, but again, I think a lot of it was pushed by Mig, wasn't it? Let's be fair to him. I think a lot of it, especially like I've said before, the armour side of it and the weathering, and as soon as that was just sort of wow, that's different, you know. Again,
that's it. If you look at people in the hobby that I think changed the hobby, Mig's top of the list, because again, he brought in weathering, you know, to the masses and explained it and showed it and did his videos and various things. Now everyone does it, but back in the day, you know, he was the sort of one.
Yeah, but it's funny, a lot of the, I don't know if you could say pioneers, but say going back to the 70s, because you said Shepherd Payne, didn't you?
Yeah.
Who you know, he was he did his dioramas and all stuff like that. It was quite a, then you had Verlinden, but they're all armour based. A lot of these were armour based guys. I cannot think and going back to think of an aircraft modeller who's
the only aircraft modeller that, and again, luckily was Ted Taylor, because obviously he used to do a lot of the magazine stuff. He had his own books out as well. So a lot of us probably remember Ted Taylor from back in the day. And then weirdly, because again, I learned pretty much all the basics from Ted Taylor, and I'm honoured enough to know I had a very long conversation with him at Telford a few years before he died. And it's one of those things, you know, when you talk to people, they say like, never meet your heroes.
Mm.
And again, it was one of those, he came up to me and he said, I can't remember what he said now. He said, oh, I've been watching you on YouTube. I was like, oh, God, really? And he goes, yeah, some good stuff on there, but you have talked crap about airbrushes. I was like, okay, fair enough. That's it. I'll take that. But then me and him had a nice conversation over a coffee at Telford. And we were talking about, he taught me various tips of like putting the needle in by using your thumbnail. Because you'll feel it. The pain in your thumbnail is about the pressure you want for seating a needle on a nozzle and various things like that. But yeah, it did make me laugh because like he was saying about, because I said to him about books and that, and he was saying, no, not doing that anymore. But he wrote a lot of books in the 70s about it as well, and obviously with the magazines and the bits and pieces. So it's a sad day when we lost Ted, because Ted's one of those people you can talk to him.
But
literally like he's your best mate and he'll lap it up, you know. So bless him.
But you should be able to talk to anybody in the hobby. We're all in the same hobby. Why?
I know.
There shouldn't be any animosity. We're all, you know, it's a hobby at the end of the day, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, I know.
So, but
you know,
yeah, again, like say with, I don't know if it was more because I was drawn to that side of the hobby when I was, you know, the dioramas and the armor and stuff. I've told you before, like when I seen the Verlinden magazines and the Verlinden, that was just me like, wow, these are just unreal. And you used to obviously get his work was in the Tamiya catalogues in the middle, weren't it? You used to have obviously Tamiya is very much armor orientated over aircraft. So I don't know really. But I can't think of it. Then obviously Mig came along after that, and you know, obviously Jamie's got to be one, isn't he? Really?
Yeah, definitely.
The aircraft and weathering the aircraft.
Proper aggoed it, yeah.
Aggoed it and stuff. So yeah, it's come a long way, hasn't it? This hobby, really.
Definitely.
And going a long way, I think, as well.
It's going a long way, yeah. It's still evolving and developing. Right, a couple more questions before we scoot off. Okay, Adrian says, hi there, can you tell me if to paint on the sprues or not? I was told not to. As it's not right. Can you please tell me what the best modelling way is? I love the Halifax build, Adrian.
Oh, I've got to answer this. Why is it not right? Why is it? Who's anybody to tell you it's right or wrong whether you paint on a sprue? Serious? I'll
tell you who, but that's another story, and we won't go down that one.
That's for another day. But seriously, if you want to paint on the sprue, paint on the sprue. If you don't want to paint it, then don't. Nobody.
Let me put this somewhat into context, because obviously a lot of the long-term members will know there's a little bit of a backstory to this. That basically goes along that many years ago now, and I've got to think now, this has got to be getting on for 10 years ago now?
Probably more.
Maybe a bit more. But anyway, I was asked to do a Gumpler Gundam something. Big request. People were saying about, can you do a Gundam kit? And I was like, yeah, no, I can do a Gundam kit. But I was going to keep it quite basic and quite simple, because really a lot of people, and again, because you're going back 10 plus years now, a lot of people hadn't even seen one and didn't even know who Bandai was, you know? And it was one of those ones. It's like, right, okay. And in my head, I thought what I'm going to do is I'll do it as a light introduction into it. And I'll talk about the pros of the kits and how they go and all the rest of it. But when it comes to painting and stuff like that, I'm going to keep it quite simple. So anyway, I did a series of builds, and it was over, 6 to 8 parts, whatever it was, about building a Gumpler big one of these big ones it was. And amazing kit. The engineering onto it is like still to this day, absolutely, it's more than AAA. It's 555, it's amazing stuff. But anyway, what I ended up doing was, because this thing's got a lot of metal on him and all the rest of it, being a robot, basically I used to spray a lot of the parts on the sprue just to speed up time. So what I did was it wasn't even hand painting, it was airbrushing on the sprue. So I airbrushed it on the sprues and all the rest of it. And then the whole idea was, when I was going to take off the part, I would touch in the bits. But also with Gumpler kits, as anyone's built one will know, that they overlap. So normally you don't even have to paint or touch up where it's been done. And for speed, right, metal colours, doddle, right, did it down. bearing in mind, not one of these so-called official experts and that saw the video because it was a members-only video. But what happened was that a lot of still images were taken, as I do it always, and put them up and people could see it. Anyway, saw it put on the sprue. Oh my God, the hate I got. And a particular forum or whatever it was got hold of this and they ran with it massively. And I was getting bombarded by emails saying how I wasn't building it, I wasn't putting any effort into it, painting on the sprue is just a cop-out and all the rest of it. So in my true thing of being reserved and everything else, I bit back and told them where they could shove it. And about literally, if I want to paint on the sprue, I'll paint on the sprue and all the rest of it. But it became a little bit of a thing about painting on the sprues for people who don't take the hobby seriously. And I think the complaint I was getting once the idiots had buggered off, but the complaint I was getting from people who did know me was saying about they just felt that because I was painting on the sprue, I wasn't doing the kit justice. And I explained to them it's just going to be a speed thing of putting it together and all the rest of it. But like as I said to them, the whole point of doing this was a basic introduction into Gunpla and Gundam and that fantastic world of Bandai and all the rest of it. So I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of turning this into a mass 15-part video build and all the rest of it. So it was just going to be a speed build, gather how much it was liked, what people liked. If they wanted me to build more, I'd build more. Anyway, because it gained so much momentum, I finished the build and then we shot it with a high-powered weapon, not an airsoft.
The thing is, though, you know, with that, with the Gundam thing, you've got to have kudos to the engineering of Bandai that you can do that and, like you said, and build it. I mean, I've watched some Japanese guys on that really old show that used to be on the Plan, whatever it is. I can't remember anyway. It's a Japanese model show where they do all different genres of models, all in Japanese anyway. It's on YouTube if you go and look it up. And they kind of was building them and then taking them to bits to paint them all on sticks and then putting them all back together.
Yes.
Which is fine if you want to get at it. I'm not judging them for it, but it's a lot of work because I've had one of them Bandai robots and I did put it together and I'll tell you what, you can't get the bloody things apart without literally breaking them because they are really.
That's why you need a specialist tool for it, which I've got.
Oh God, yeah, you.
Oh, it's broken.
Oh, you broke it.
Oh, I broke it.
Oh, that lasted long.
Oops. Oh, it's full of plastic in the groove.
But
sorry, I
apologise. Anybody who's built a Bandai Star Wars kit will know the same because it's exactly the same sort of engineering. Once they're together, they are pretty much together, even without any glue, aren't they?
So, I think I've super glued the blade in.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I think I have. It's got a bit of glue on there. But yeah, you've got this thing and it has a blade that comes out. And the idea is it's actually for separating them and getting them apart. Think of it like a Lego spreader. And so, mine unfortunately is full of glue. I'll clean that out after the show because I was using it as a knife.
But anyway, going back to track, if you want to paint it on the sprue, just paint on the sprue. It's your model.
Paint on the sprue. At the end of the day, it just,
whatever's easier
absolutely.
for you, whatever you're comfortable with, just run with that.
And to this day, I still paint on the sprue. If I'm doing small parts and things like that, I'll paint them or airbrush them or hand paint them on here just as quick. Take them off, cut them off, then I'll touch in the bits afterwards, and away you go. Absolutely. I think what happened is that because it got my back up about what was said, I did the usual and I was poking the bear a lot and just winding them up because sometimes it's easier to wind them up and let them just eat themselves than it is to actually argue with them. So anyway, that's what I did at the end of the day. And, you know, as I say, the rest is history, but it has become a thing about you can't paint on the sprue. So it's like, yeah, well, that's what that was all over. Anyway, we're all friends now. I got to speak to the second, well, he took silver or whatever it is in the big, huge thing for it. He was kind enough to send me a message and he went to Telford and I met him at Telford. He came over from Japan and we met him. So really nice guy as well. And he was saying he paints on the sprues, don't take any notice. So, yeah, that's where that comes from.
Yeah,
right, okay. Neil says, evening team, I'm looking for stash items for my neighbours. All right. He's also interested. He went to uni with Martin Hales, who flew with 800 Squadron. Jamie, do you know him? In 1982? Not quite that old. For 800 NAS in 1982. Anyway, we were wandering around Cosford He'd recently visited Yelverton and he saw a mention of his old uni mate shooting down a dagger in a Sea Harrier FRS1. So I'm looking for the Sea Harrier in 148 scale. Okay, so you got kinetic or Tamiya. Jamie says that the kinetic one is the best one he's built recently, and he's had no problems with it at all. Isn't that right, Jamie?
One? Hey, what about the Airfix one?
Yeah, you forgot the Airfix one as well. That's a great kit.
In 77? What, in 48?
Or you've got the Tamiya one, right?
No, that don't count. You can't count Tamiya one, and you can't count the Airfix one. You can only do the kinetic, because that's the only one worth actually building. For a Sea Harrier, especially an FRS one.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Let's be honest, because the others are old, and oh god, the Tamiya one shouldn't even be mentioned as in ever. It's awful, isn't it? That is a terrible kit.
It is, but I'll tell you what, we've had it, and I have to say, I tip my hat to you guys who have built it, because some of you guys have done it and done an amazing job with it. Yeah. But honestly, as far as Tamiya is concerned, they need to ditch that aircraft because it's bad for the brand. So
there is, anyway. I mean, it's not unbuildable, is it? Because nothing's unbuildable. But when you think Tamiya, you do think quality and the fit and everything, and that is just none of the above, is it? It's a very poor kit.
I think it's terrible that it's got a Tamiya name on it, because it must devalue the brand, because anybody who builds it thinks, what is this old crap? Because it's nothing like the rest of their kits. I know, but it's one of those things, like Airfix told me once about the old Vulcan. All the time people buy it, they'll produce it. And then they brought out the new one.
To be honest, I can't remember the old Airfix Harrier. I know it weren't brilliant.
Oh, it was horrible as well. Yeah.
You know, you'd have thought they'd have done one in 48, wouldn't you, Airfix? You know, it's such an iconic British aircraft, a Harrier. I know they've done the 72nd ones, but you'd have thought, you'd have thunk, wouldn't you, that they'd do the 40. They'd have upscaled into 48 scale because of it's a Harrier. I wonder if they will or they won't, because as they always say, kinetic Harriers aren't making money for Airfix, are they?
Well, this is it. Okay, so the big thing is, hold on, just to say, I built both of them. I built the FRS1 and I built the FA2. The FRS1 I did as a commission, to be honest. It was a quick job in and out. I could get it back because I know the guy's got it. So what I'm going to do at some point, I'm going to borrow it back. I'll tell him I'll give him a free clean and I'll get it back here and we'll go through it. The fit issue that you've got with it is the front wheel well, where it lines up with the duct fan. You know, the main engine intake fan and all the rest of it is a little bit squibbly to get it all to go together. But I know Jamie's building it at the moment and he's had snags with it. And I know other people have said they've had snags. But honestly, I think people are, no disrespect to the people who've built it as well, but they overcomplicate trying to get it perfectly together. What you've just got to do is get it together. Don't worry about it if you have to take sanding chunks out of it and do it all the rest of it. Because to be honest with you, you don't see any details in the front wheel well anyway, especially if you've got the door closed, as in you've got it where it's powered up. All right, so the front door, just close it and you're good to go with it. But if you do have it open, you still can't see bugger all in there anyway. So don't worry about it, how it actually goes. All right, so again, it's just that entire thing with the entire front end, getting it all to line up and go together. To be honest, the FA2 version isn't any better. But it's one of those things, you just get it together because you won't notice it once it's in there. Once you've got the geared doors on it and everything else like that, it'll be absolutely fine. So get past it, everyone, and just get it together. It's a bit like I've been saying, we're working with the Halifax. Sometimes you've just got to get it together. Doesn't matter if it's ugly, just get it together, because once you have, you can polish the turd, smooth it out, rescribe it, redo all the bits and pieces, and no one will know. So, and that's part of it, unfortunately. It's just one of those ones. There is something going on in there. But again, I know people have said to me, well, what is it? I don't know, because I just got it together. I'm not going to stand there messing around and work out what's wrong with it. I'll just get it together whichever way I can. And that's the way I've always done my building. So, but yes, but my one is sat over there now, the FA2. And again, there's a video build up for that one. You can go off and see that one and see how we fudged it. But yes. To be honest, all the Harriers are like it. To be honest, the 24th scale one, which I've got here, is much better. That don't fit either. The entire front end of this one is a little bit iffy how this thing goes in. All right, so when we were doing this one, I got it closed up. The reason it's closed up is because it looks awful in there, because it's not in the right position, because you have to slightly fudge it. So what we ended up doing in here, if you remember, modelling fans, we plasticarded this entire section round in here. Oh, look, the wheel still moves. But we plasticarded this because it doesn't fit. to make it fit and look like it's correct and all the rest of it. So by re-shimming it, or with plastic art, cutting it, sanding it, polishing it, painted it, we've hidden that said problem underneath there as well. So yes.
Just think that's a year old.
It is. This is a year ago we did. This was the big summer build last year. So, but it looks like a Harrier.
He definitely looks like a Harrier.
Yes. Dusty Harrier, admittedly. Needs a dust. Need to put it in a cabinet somewhere, but it doesn't fit in my case. It's too big.
Definitely you need to have one custom made just to show off
just
the
to keep it nice.
3D printed parts.
Yes, that's it. The 3D printed bits in this. So yeah. But again, it's one of those things with it. I think the whole point is, I think people get too, I don't know. And again, it's one of those things like Jamie's saying about the intakes are too wide, they stick out. I know, but just
what other options you got, though?
To be honest, don't forget when we built this one, it was the same thing. We've plastic carded down it to make it all fit. It's almost like it's like a thing because it's quite complex how it all goes and all the rest of it, just to try to get it in there. But sometimes it's just by hook or by crook. But if you remember on this build, this entire front end doesn't fit. It's just ugly and awful to get it to go all in here and all the rest of it. Because this is a cut and shut, don't forget, because this should be the GR1. You know, so we've cut the entire front end off to get this one in and then to redo it as an FRS. And so, yeah, it's just ugly. So
what was
it's one of those ones, just it's ugly to get in there.
What was his question?
Yeah, I think he was basically saying about which kit to go for. So what did he say? He's currently following Mr. Hago's current kinetic build. Having watched Mr. Oxley's rant about it, so again, honestly, don't worry about it. Just get it together. I think that's the thing.
I don't.
So there you go.
Yeah, but going back to it, apart from probably the 72nd ones, they're actually not a very good larger scale Harrier, is it?
No.
You know, the little 70. Even if you're going back,
the 72nd one is beautiful. I've got it kicking around here somewhere.
Even the old Esky one is actually an all right kit to build in 72nd. Obviously, the new Airfix one's a good one to build, isn't it? I think probably Fujimi did one, and I bet that's not a bad thing to build either back in the day. But then when you go up to 48 scale, it's a bit lacking, shall we say.
Yeah, the one you want to avoid like the plague, if you really want to build a truly awful kit, is to do the old Hannants one, the extra kit.
Oh, yeah, the extra kit. I forgot about that.
You lot are complaining about the kinetic one. Try and build that one. That's truly just nothing fits.
It's terrible. You know what? You just carry on. I'm going to have a look. I think you can still get that kit.
Can you still get it? I know they did bring it back. So they brought the Canberra back out and all the rest of it. Not so long ago.
We've had the Canberra, and the PR9's not unbuildable, is it?
No, that's it. But no, their Harrier is awful because if I remember rightly, the front windscreen, which is like a piece of solid resin, is way too wide from it, and that's just the start of the problems. So the intakes again don't fit, and it's just awful all the way through.
It's thingied by whatchamacallit, isn't it? Was it MPM did it for them?
I can't remember who did it for them. I know I tried to build one, and it was like Jesus. And do you know what? I got a very good friend of mine who I haven't spoken to in many, many years now, and he's used to do a lot of magazine work for the modelling magazines. So I gave it to him to do, and he did it for me. No, and said it was awful.
You can't get it. No, you can get the Canberra. God, that Saunders Row flying boat fighter thing that they did last year, was it? That came out, that extra kit. And then there's a 2C, because there's two. There's an extra kit SH and an extra kit SW. Don't ask me, I don't know. Special Lobby. Supermarine Swift, Hunter T7, is it?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, they did the 2-seat Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get that. Spitfire Mark 22, Vampire FB5, Gloucester Meteor T7, and a Meteor F8. But yes, I do remember the old Harrier. I forgot they did that, to be honest.
Right, so next question is how big are the bottles? So height is around about 7.5 centimetres. Width, I should get the calipers out, but I won't. It's about 2.5 centimetres. So yeah, so you're going to need like 8 centimetres if you got racks for it, if that's what you're thinking, Brian. So, but yeah, he's thinking about redoing his paint storage. What's the height of the new real colour of bottles? So yeah, I would say 7.5 to almost 8 centimetres in height. Width, I would say if you gave 3 centimeters for each bottle, you'd be good.
Have you got a Gen 3 one there?
Yes, it'll be the same in it, so the same bottles.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it should be same as just a
Yeah,
normal dropper bottle, isn't it? As in
yeah,
width
yeah.
and
They
it's
are. They're
only
the
a different
same.
top.
Yeah, the same bottles, just different top on them. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So yes, okay, right. I guess we've got one more question. Oh God, we've got a couple of questions. What are people doing today? I don't know who's doing it. Right, okay. Richie's saying he's building the Tamiya Mark. Oh God, what's that? 9C Spitfire, and it seems to have lost the radiator cover on the wing. Who should I contact for a replacement?
Hobby
Well, if
company.
it's Tammy, it'd be Hobby Company, and they do have quite a good
They've got Boneyard.
boneyard in there.
Yeah. Hobby companies, the official importer in the UK, contact them. They're pretty good, actually. They're really good. I think you
Yeah.
put some up on the forum and some people was answering and said Hobbyco. So just get in touch with Hobbyco. They're really good for parts. Good bunch of people for that. Like I said, they do have, don't they? Have a massive boneyard. It's ace. So yeah.
Very, very nice. Okay, we're just going to whip through these then before we all scoot off. Stefan saying, good evening, team. I saw a modeler on Facebook, some pictures of build of a Lightning he did, a what if. Is this not your picture then? Can we put this up? Saw a post on Facebook, some pictures of it. It looked amazing. Very inspiring too. I have a couple of what ifs, ideas that I'm hoping to do one day. I was curious to see how you guys. So if this is not your photo, I can't show it because I might get done.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get told off because this is actually out on, not our version, if you like. So we show everything, including stuff on telly. But so yeah, I can't really show that. But it is a very nice red arrows lightning.
Public domain if it's on Facebook.
It's not worth it. If he sees it and starts getting the ump.
Yeah,
so
fair play.
I can't be thingied for another strike.
No.
So yeah, but no, it's definitely a red arrows lightning. I'll tell you what, it's really good in that, I have to say, and it's a good build. Very, very nice indeed. Looks very, very good. I take it that's the FX one.
No, it's the 30-second trumpeter one.
Is that the 30-second trumpeter one?
I don't know. I've never seen. I don't know what it is. I'm not seeing it on Facebook, am I? So
just looking at it, it looks really nice detail. So I'm assuming it's the FX one. But yeah, no. Again, it's really nice when you get inspired by other people's ones and you see them and you think, oh, that really, really nice, and you want to sort of have a go at it yourself, and that's what it's all about, is to get inspired. It doesn't matter if you're watching a plane about the real things or you see a model or something else like that. It's good for the old inspiration and stuff.
Do you know what?
Go on.
Go on. No, do your question and I'll tell you after. Go on.
Okay, Andrew says he's using the Edard masks for the first time and wanted to ask how long can they stay on the cockpit after painting before removing?
Forever.
Forever. That's the great thing with them. They tend to just sit there forever. I've had them on literally for months and they don't peel up at the edges and all the rest of it. That's why whatever tape they use, I don't know if it is Kabui tape, but it's really good stuff. So they stick down and won't go anywhere, and they won't leave you any residue and horrible stuff afterwards if they're on too long. So you'll be absolutely fine with that. The only thing you have to watch is the plastic versions. The vinyl ones, they give up after a couple of weeks, start peeling off.
Yeah, the vinyl ones can be a bit temperamental to say, and they stretch as well, don't they? They can stretch out of shape. So yeah, the vinyl ones are the ones to be careful of. Also, what was the ones I used some not long, like the other month? KV models, I think it was theirs. Brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant, because they do mass for stuff that you won't get mass sets for, to be honest. Really obscure, weirdy stuff, but you got to be careful with them, as in they don't peel off or anything like that, but they do leave a residue behind. So with a WD-40 or odorless thinner just to clean it all off. Yeah, they're very, very, very sticky, the glue is. So just be aware of that. But no bleeding or anything, which is obviously the worst case scenario of a paint mask, in it, when they bleed and they don't work. Because remember the ones for the Great Wall Hobbies? I think it was the 189 Fopwolf, the flying bloody greenhouse. Yeah. And they were just rubbish because it's quite a complex shape of a canopy, isn't it? And the clay parts, they were just peeling off. I think I had it on some else as well with some vinyl ones. Were brilliant.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
definitely. Part 2 of the question is, he's talking about making sprue glue filler, which is obviously I've been using a lot of it and talking about it on the Halifax. Pop over to the tutorial section, so just click on tutorials, go down in here into Basic Modeling 101. And then down in here, we've got all the video series about the basics of modeling all the way through. So you've got all the high-res photos, just click on them and go through. And then down in here somewhere, he says, there we go, making your own sprue glue filler. So I use Tamiya Extra Thin, and I use 0.25 styrene, brand new sheet. This isn't sprue. Don't use sprue because it just doesn't work. It's horrible. And I talk about the different consistencies and mixes and the various things in there. So have a watch of that little video, and that will get you right on track about which one to use. Because again, it's one of those things where you mix it to how you want, and then it takes a few days to get going and working. Though it's one of those things, you chuck it all in a bottle, just leave it, and it all melts together. Then, if it's too runny, just leave the lid off for a good couple of hours and let it vent, and it'll thicken up. And if it's too thick, just add a little bit more extra thin into it. Or you could probably use something like, you know, AK stuff or anybody else's these days. But when I did that video, it was what I had, and all the rest of it. But again, I know people use other things, and that's where you get shrinkage and problems. So just make sure if you are, use virgin styrene sheet. So over here, I've got some nice 1mm, really, really thick stuff. To be honest, I used that much on the Halifax recently. I actually took a chunk off of this, snipped it up into little squares, chucked it down into it, and I've made a new batch of it. That's the first batch I've made in absolute donkey's years. I can't remember how long ago we even did that, but because that's the stuff that I've still been using now. But as it thickens up, goes too thick, I just add, you know, a couple of mil of extra thin into it, leave it overnight, let it soak in, give it a bit of a mix, and you'll be good to go. But again, if it is too thick, just leave the top off and it'll evaporate and it'll start to go off a bit. Then put the top back on, you have a thicker mix for it as well, and do it. But you're saying on the question was about, you know, any tips about doing it because you failed miserably. Just have a look at watch that one and go. But also, if you're thinking you've just put them in and now it doesn't look right, just give it time. It does take time for them all to melt and it to make a paste. Or basically, as to say, it comes out like you want it the consistency of mastic. But, you know, so like corking. Proper, it is. It's just basically, it's corking. That's what I do. Then wet your finger and rub it and job's done.
Put it in a corking gun.
Yeah, do you know what? I thought about that when I was doing that thing. If you could have a little syringe, because I got a syringe and I tried it in a bit of a syringe, and works quite well. You can just.
Oh, you can do it through a syringe?
Yeah, it does work through a syringe. I did do it.
I tell you what, that's not a bad idea. Because it's a bit like the Vallejo one, isn't it? Where you've got the nice, because that's like a little corking tube in it, really, where you're squeezing it and you've got the little end and you can just precisely put it where you are. That's not a bad idea, you know.
Because obviously the thing is, what I did, I've got quite a big one. I think it's like a 20mm syringe. What you need is those 5mm syringes. Yeah, the thin ones. Well, the little tiny ones.
You've got somebody who can get you some.
Well, I do. What, my dealer? Make it sound like I'm a heroin addict. But no. But yes, I could actually. She probably could pop me some, but I don't want to be stealing from the NHS. So, but I'm sure they've got them on Amazon. But thinking about it, if you could get the little like 1mm version, or obviously probably a 5mm version to be perfect. Because the trouble is, once it's in there, you can't leave it in there because I think it will dry out even if you put a cap on it. I can't imagine it staying in there. But it'd be quite handy if you do it. But I did do it in a syringe at one point. I was just going around with it with like a 20mm version. So, yeah, it was all right. And then the rest of it, I squirted it back in the bottle. Job's a good one.
There you go. That's not a daft idea, is it?
That's it. So you should sell it.
So what, syringes?
Syringes. Like a needle bank next.
Special model syringes.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, Tim says, Phil and Matt, what do you think of all the 3D aftermarket landing gear sets that have appeared recently? To be honest,
bring it on.
I'm not surprised. Bring it on. It's, again, I don't think, obviously, it's one of these things. I know a lot of some friends of mine who do it already with different companies. They've all switched over from traditional cast resin to 3D printed. Because they're a bit like me, have sort of embraced it to think you just print what you need. It's so much easier than casting and all the hassle that comes with it.
The way I've done it with the parts I've, you know, like the seats for this Spitfire and the wheels and stuff, I've just printed loads. I've just done, and then if it fails or you cock it up or something, which is obviously the downside of original resin when you used to buy resin parts, you've just got one set.
Yeah.
Didn't you? Well, obviously now you can print as many as you want off, which you've got a file. It doesn't really matter. So That's
Mm.
that's what I really like about it, because if it does fail, it's not the end of the world, because you just either reprint it or readjust it or do whatever you want. But you can also print multiples of,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, the world's your oyster, in it, with it.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Also, just to point out, you're saying about what do you think of obviously using the metal ones? Do you think they're worth it? To be honest with you, the trouble you find with the metal ones is that they tend to be spun type ones. So they put them in like a centrifuge thing that flings it to the outside to get rid of the air bubbles and all the rest of it. Because it's like a softer metal. There's some of them aren't, they're brass, and I think the brass ones are really nice. Don't get me wrong, we're not talking about the brass one, we're talking about these white metal ones. The white metal ones can be a little bit soft. If you're dealing with a model, for instance, that's a heavy, it's a lot of aftermarket and resin into it, I wouldn't trust the white metal one. Because I had that once on a Sky. I did what was it, Hawkeye, the resin one. That came with white metal gear, and it went.
Oh, they're not very strong, are they? What was the
No.
company that did the really, really nice metal undercarriage? I don't know if they're still going. Can you remember?
Scale something, wasn't it? Scale model something. Can't remember now.
Yeah, because there is one that's still going, isn't there, that does them.
Mm.
And then there was another one, and they didn't. Yeah, I can't remember what they were called, but they were really quite.
It was SAC, wasn't it? It was their logo, and they had the fist. Yeah, the SAC fist logo, and it was scale something. Blah blah blah. I'm sure chat will chuck it up in a minute, but yeah, that was those ones. And again, the only trouble I had with them was some of them, and I was saying this is back in the day, so I haven't used them for a long time now. But the thing is, with them, you used to find that they had the ejector pin mark still in them, and to me that was lazy. If you're going to copy the part, at least fill the bloody ejector pin holes and the various things.
And remove the seam line of the
and remove the seam line, because you get the seam line. They've literally taken the part and recast it, and I'm thinking at least clean it up and make it nice. And this goes back to a video build that I did, and it's still available if you can go and find it, where I moaned like hell because I got the kit part and then their aftermarket and was literally like this, and it still got the same seam mark and it still had the same ejector pin mark on it as well. And I thought that was lazy. If you're going to copy something, at least put the effort in. So
the thing is, with the best, weren't they? The brassing ones. The brassing ones.
They were the best. The
brassing
ones
on the 190, didn't you? When you went to town with that 190, and they were brilliant.
And to be honest, things like on the 190, because that undercarriage is so delicate, now it's almost bulletproof, that thing.
But
you'd rip the wings off before the gear gave way. Typhoon's got it as well.
Yeah.
Typhoon's got brass.
I wonder why they never carried on with that, because they didn't really do a lot with it. I wonder if it was cost or something, but they were really nice as well, really nicely detailed. So,
but yeah, the brass, if you get the brass, really good. And then after that, the resin ones are always pretty good. And resin is strong stuff. It'll be on a par with the plastic, if not better, on most cases. Okay, last question, then we can get out of here because we've gone right over. Aid says, 2 things I've heard that have put me off of getting a 3D printer. I've heard that the resin is smelly, actually toxic, and if you haven't got it in a separate room to print and then you breathe them in, you can build up inside your body and make you quite ill. Is this true?
Can I just jump in? You build model kits.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was just about to get to that bit. You're inside my head again. But I was literally going to say, yes, it's very true. The stuff is toxic that you're using and you don't want to breathe it in. The same way you shouldn't be breathing in everything else you see in this room. But we all still do. My printer is inside this room. Actually, I must admit, I don't print when it's on, unless I'm really caught for time and I can't get around it. Because normally when I'm editing, this is printing and I have the window open. Or failing that, the extractor just whacks it out as well. But, my 3D printer is literally just over there. I've got my little station with it all there now, and it goes on. It's one of those things where I think and I know it sounds horrible because, again, I've had people say to me, including Jen, if Jen's watching, because Jen always gives me grief because I use certain products, which you shouldn't because it's lethal and it's horrible. But then we sit here in a sniffing glue every day of your life and no one's complaining about that and everything else. It's one of those things. You should be taking it deadly serious. You should be having a respirator on. You should have the gloves and look like you're on Breaking Bad or something. The reality is, can you be bothered? Life's too short at the best of the time.
Hey, is Jamie still on?
I don't know. Yes.
Because we need to talk about two-pack lacquer then, don't we? His favourite subject.
2-pack lacquer, yeah.
2K lacquer.
And with Jen, because Jen gave me a hard time over that as well. Saying she uses that stuff. And she has a full hazmat suit for using
She
it.
got the full air-fed respirator.
But as I did point out, I'm only using 2 mil of it, not like half a litre at a time, you know? So,
No, he's not.
so yes.
You know, joking aside, he's not good stuff, is it? Resin.
It's not good stuff.
It's
The
not,
same as everything we use
nice,
down here.
but,
It's a bit like when you're using resin and you're sanding resin, you should be
Just-
doing it in a ventilated thing. You should have a respirator on, do it over a wet bench. But for the little amounts you use, you know, and for the time you're using it, you know.
Just going back to printing though, the printers now, the newer ones, a lot of them have got the extractor in. They've got the
and filters.
I mean, obviously the technology. Our printers are so out of date now. It's unreal. Fills. It's, you know, because it was Prime Day the other day, weren't it? Last week, and I was saying to Andy, I was like, "Oh, I wonder what printers are on offer and what we're at now and where we are." Because obviously, how long we had our printers? Is it a year or 2?
2 years now, I'd have thought.
Because
I don't know when they were new out. Yeah.
It is. It's 2, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Because you had yours about a year after I think I had mine, wasn't it? Because you had the first version, then I got the second, and then you got the second version as well.
Yeah, so I've got the little Mars that we've used about twice, and that was it. Then obviously we've got the Saturn. But yeah, I mean the technology now is moving on, so it's a lot more ventilated, and you know, it's not nice stuff at the end of the day, is it? I mean, when we move, our printer is in the front office at the minute with all the computers, but it's going to be moved into a separate part of the new shop. So, you know, because it's probably going to be running a lot more with a bit of luck. There's going to be a lot more coming off that. So there'll be a bank of them. That's what I want, a bank of printers.
Bank of printers, yeah. You look like Phase Resin then, because they got a bank of printers. Because I was watching them do. They've just done all the seamless intakes for the Hornet families.
Printing goodies off.
Yes, they got loads of them. Okay, part 2 of the question is, using water to clean the resin is classed as toxic, and it can't be disposed of with wastewater, but must be treated as toxic, left in sunlight until the resin is cured and pulled away, which seems impractical in the UK. Yes. Don't put it down your sink. I tell you why, because I might have done that once, and then it had actually gone quite hard in the sink because the sun was on it. No, it didn't block the sink, but it was all around the edges of the sink and gone on like absolute concrete. Put it this way, it's a good job I'm having a new sink next year, because I might be murdered at this point and having an early divorce. Because it literally stuck to the entire side of it, because obviously the sun was on the sink and it's metal. It literally on contact. So don't do that, kids. I'll be honest with you, I've moved away from the water curing stuff. Honestly, I think IPA is quicker and easier, and to get rid of IPA, it's easier as well. You just let it evaporate or burn it. You know.
I tell you what though, with the IPA, because I filter mine, I've got filters and I filter it and just reuse it, because all the like all the resin, like you say, collects in, because I've got a pre-wash station and a wash station. So I mean, the pre-wash station takes the bulk of it, which is like a cereal or a rice holder or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? That you got your lid on.
That's what I've got.
And that takes the bulk of it, and then you just leave, you know, drain that off, and then that hardens up, and you get it out and clean it up and put it in the waste bin. Do you know what I mean? And harden it off. I think that is a downside to 3D printers, because it ain't environmentally that friendly, is it? If you're going to get
none of it is. Honestly, none of it's new.
It creates a lot of waste, and it getting rid of the waste as well. You know what I mean? But
because what I do now with my one, to be honest, like Matt, I've got a pre-rinse, and then I've got the machine that does the old and rinses it all properly. So I let it sit for about a week, and literally it will just be a level on the bottom.
Just sediment.
The sediment. So you can leave it out in the sun like that, literally for half hour, and it will cook it, and then just pour off the clean IPA off the top, and then scrape the sludge off the bottom, and then bin it in obviously black waste. It's fine. And then obviously with the big one, pretty much the same. I usually just siphon off the top of it, leave it to the bottom, and then tip that out as it's wet, horrible stuff down onto old cardboard, leave it out in the sun, goes hard, folds up, goes in the bin.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good tool to have, but like I say, it's like anything; it does produce waste.
Yeah,
it's one of them, but downside in it. But again, I ain't changed my IPA for forever. If I'm honest, it's a long time.
I haven't recently.
I've changed IPA, and I'm still on old IPA that I strained from the last time I clear out. Obviously, with us moving, everything's got to be cleared up anyway, so it's going to have to be strained and done anyway, which we'll probably do on Saturday. And then when we reset up, it'll all be fresh. But yeah, it's not like you're doing it every time you print. Don't get that in your head,
No.
but you've got to clean it out, you know, like your airbrush, isn't it? You know, I've got to strip the airbrush down because I've just painted. No, you just blow your airbrush through, and it's the same with this. You're just rinsing it off until it gets to a point where you know when it needs doing, because you get little white lumps sticking to things, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little lumps, floaters, if you want to call that resin, and then it is time to. I think I need to just strain it but you can reuse the IPA. It's not like you need to get rid of it. You can just strain it and use it again. So
yeah. I must admit, it's one of those things, like everything. It's a bit like, you know, cleaning out your airbrush. You know, you're going to get waste stuff from it. It's just par for it and all the rest of it. But honestly, the water clean stuff, I prefer the normal stuff. One, it's cheaper. You know, that's a big difference. It's a lot cheaper than the water cleanup stuff. The water cleanup stuff I started with and then very quickly moved over to the normal stuff because obviously Matt and Andy talking about it. And I just find it's easier because also the big thing is you've got the water cleanup stuff. It takes ages to dry. But the IPA is dry within minutes because it just evaporates instantly off your parts. And then you can then literally just let them sit there for maybe an hour, then stick them in your curing machine, you're good to go. But the water-based one, I used to have to leave it 10 hours. I always get those white marks all around it where it's not properly done and stuff like that. So I would avoid the water bowl and stuff. And the cost as well. So
I haven't tried the thingy yet, resin. The like the one with a bit of flex in it.
Yeah, the flexi stuff. No, I haven't either.
I've not tried that yet.
Yeah, they do some good stuff now. All these different ones coming down the line.
Lots in there.
So,
cool.
Okay, so just to finish up with, just over on the PM store, if you're really, really quick and get your order in before midday, you could have these sent out. So special offers. Obviously, we've got some of the Great Wall A10s down in there at just $79.99.
Yep.
We've got some of the review stuff down in here. This isn't my review one that I did today, by the way, people. This is another one as well. So we've got some of the bits and pieces down there. We've got the pigment jockeys, and we just got the last of it. So grab it just whilst you can before we close down the store tomorrow afternoon as well, because we're clearing out and getting rid of all the enamel washes from AK as well. So if you want to grab any of those ones and the pigment jockeys as well, you can grab that literally before we go, because don't forget, as of about 2 o'clock tomorrow you shutting?
Well, to be fair, if your order needs to be in before, I'd say 12:30 latest, because it's obviously got to be picked and processed. So I would say 12:30 is the limit. Anything after that, you're going to be waiting at least a week and a half, because the plan is to close down tomorrow. Like I say, we're going to be moving next week, and over the weekend we're down with you the weekend after, so the following weekend hence, and then we'll be back in probably Tuesday, Wednesday. The week after that, I think I'm going to have Monday off to recover from being down at Phil's all weekend and everything. Then we'll be back in, and then we'll be back on it. So I need to rearrange, obviously, post pickups and stuff. So probably Wednesday the week after, and a bit of a break, be full on, and then we'll be back at it. So probably won't be doing a show next week, are we? There's no Thursday show next week.
No Thursday show, and probably no Friday show either, because the guys are coming down Friday during the day. So yeah.
And then obviously I think we'll be back a week on Thursday, won't we? We'll be back to normality in a couple of weeks. So just bear with us, obviously, while we just move. We're going to put a banner up, and just to say, you know, all things are suspended, shall we say, or we might leave it open Dubai, but you ain't going to get it posted until we're back, so it's up to you, really. We'll see, but so lovely jubbly.
Good job. Right, okay, so don't forget, if you do want to go off, and obviously members, this is up with you now, but for everybody else, you've got the Devastator and the Mesh Smith up there. This Puma will be up there probably for tomorrow afternoon at some point. I'll make it live to the world on YouTube, and you can go off and see that one. As I said at the beginning of the show, I'm not sure what you're going to get yet. It's either going to be the Halifax tomorrow, or it's going to be the first part of the actual Corsair. It just depends on how I get on in the morning with that one. Tomorrow as well, obviously it's the catch-up show. There'll be usual bits and pieces on that. Let's make our way through. It's not going to be a show on Monday either, because I'm away at a Steam rally as well to see Warspite for its first ever proper run out with the general public as well. So yes, I've got that coming up as well. So nothing on Monday, although I'm here. Orders will go out as normal from Flory Models and the usual bits and pieces, just like that. All right. So good job, everybody. Thank you very much for all your great questions. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We're going to call it right there. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you all again very, very soon. Happy modelling. Take care.